Hey, good morning to those of you out there on the West Coast, way out there in Hawaii, the Northern Mariana Islands, America Samoa. Good afternoon to those of you here on the East Coast with me. It's a beautiful day out there. Well, it's rainy and a little wet out there, but it's still beautiful. We're going to get started on today's training around capability statements. But before we do, I wanted to start off with a quick question somebody asked me, and then actually if I have time, I might do a tip as well. Let me just turn these captions off. So the question that somebody asked me is, what do I do if I don't have any experience? I just have W-2 experience, as an expert, but I don't have any company experience. You can still use that. If we're talking about a capability statement today, I'll talk more about it, but you just put the experience, but you really don't have a company to put on there. And then inside of DSBS, which is somewhere that I recommend people also put experience, definitely put your experience. There's just two fields that matter in the past performance. One is, I think it says contract, and it's 20 characters, and that's basically the company or agency you worked with. And the other is, let's call it project title. I think it says name is the name of the field. And in there, I would put a good description of the work I've done, right? But on the company one, I could just sit there and say private company or something. And you put in how much did you get paid? And if you were working a W-2 job, then you got paid $100,000 or $200,000. Put that in. This is marketing. I'm not here to help the other party. I'm here to help you get in their door. And so if you put your experience that way, that's good to go. So if you think about me, I could put down that maybe I was a SharePoint developer, and I actually worked with GDIT. I might put in GDIT. And people say, tell me about that. Oh, yeah, that was my W-2 experience. I don't try to fool them, but I am trying to put experience enough to just say I'm getting paid for what I'm selling. And so when I use my W-2 experience, it's a way to say, look, I'm brand new to government contracting. I've been doing this work forever, but I'm brand new to government contracting. Oh, I've been there before. Let's talk. Right. So that's hopefully that answers your question there. And I'm going to use that as today's tip instead of doing another tip. But that's just a quick thing there for you. So we're going to get started. Let me just make sure I'm good to go on everything. Thank you for engaging in chat. If you haven't done so already, make sure you put your core competency, 2 or 3 words that tell us what you do, what your company sells, and then put your company name, obviously, in there. It's good to see a lot of people in here, a lot of 100 Club companies. Out to somebody else. We're going to get I need a connection request in just a second, because I just saw an error that says connection lost. And so tell me in the chat if you see it. I don't want to start too fast. There's a 1-minute delay. It's fine. I'll pick up speed. I'll talk really fast when we get in. So I'm just going to watch the chat for a second, or maybe somebody could text me too if you got my phone number. So I'll watch those 2 things. I'm watching, I'm waiting. No point in talking if the connection's totally dropped, because I don't want you to miss anything. I'm back now. Perfect. Okay, so let's get rocking and rolling. In the small business, as you get started. And those 6 assets are your small business profile. Think SAM and DSBS, your capability statement, your LinkedIn profile, your LinkedIn company page, your website, and your capabilities briefing deck. And so today we're going to be talking about just one of those, the capability statement. And as we move forward, though, one of the things I want you to keep in mind about all 6 of those, and the capability statement in particular, is that every marketing asset should have a particular purpose. I'm getting texts now. You're frozen, but you're good to go. Anyways, so the idea of a capability statement, though, its one purpose is to land meetings. And that's what we're going to talk about, because really that's what I want to help you drive towards, is how do you actually get these meetings and use your capability statement as a way to do that. Today's training about capability statements, we're going to talk about the what, where, and how, right? What are capability statements? Why are they important to you? What should a capability statement look like? And so I call that the framework. I'm going to give you some guidance on that. This is not a deep dive training. It is, though, enough to be able to get you started. And then you can go watch other training where I actually go in and show you how to build it. And then the last thing I want to talk about is where your capability statement should live. It doesn't do you any good to create a marketing asset and then don't make it easily accessible to people. So I want to tell you where you should put that, and that'll be where it lives. If you don't know who I am, my name is Neil McDonald. I am the president of the GovCon Chamber of Commerce, co-founder of GovCon in a Box, a SaaS platform that we're really excited that aligns training to tools that we do. And so I want to welcome you to my federal sales training, where I provide tips for success in the federal market. Since 2018, I've been teaching people like you that government contracting is not a secret, it's just a process. When we follow a process A to Z, we're going to have repeatable, predictable results. And this is what I want for you. If you haven't done so already, subscribe to our government contracting success newsletter. We're pushing 20,000 subscribers, and it's because we keep putting out content that is helpful to you and others as you go through the journey of being a government contractor in the federal market. And the last thing on this page that I want to point out is just take a look at tomorrow's training. I'm teaching my process, 7-step process for GovCon success, government contracting success. And this is really important, right? If you're thinking about business development or capture, there's a 7-step process that will lead you to success. So go ahead and register for that. I do want to thank the 120, 130 people who registered for today's training. I really appreciate when you do that. First off, it's an easy thank you. Second off, it pushes it out to other people, letting you know that we're doing the training and they should join us as well. If you haven't heard of the 100 Club, I want to introduce you to the 100 Club and congratulate Aspire Systems Consulting, Abe over there. Abe Dorf and his company have just joined the 100 Club. The 100 Club is what the GovCon, what GovConInABox.com has put in place. We have something that's called a federal visibility score. How visible are you to federal buyers? Ironically, what we're about to talk about is going to go towards this, right? My third phase of today's train is going to increasing your visibility. But the 100 Club has a point system, 0 to 100 points. And if you have 100 points, then you're maximizing your potential visibility to federal buyers. There's 360,000 small businesses selling to the federal government today. 66 of them have a 100 score. They're in the 100 Club. I want you to be part of that 100 Club as well. I'm really excited for when we get to 100 in the 100 Club, right? That'll be a lot of fun. Go check it out, govconinabox.com. It's free. I provide guidance on how to go to federal tools and update those tools. And so it's pretty straightforward to do. And we keep putting out more and more tools to make it free and easy to get into that 100 Club and be visible to federal buyers. If you're in the 100 Club, throw I'm in the 100 Club into the chat so people know that. Okay, so let's get started talking about what are capability statements, right? And why are they important? And you can go into a lot of different directions on this. And so I'm just picking a couple. There's this idea, sometimes people talk about a capability statement as a resume. I like the idea of sometimes calling a capability statement a glorified business card, if you will. I hand you the business card, you look at it and decide whether you want to meet with me, right? And so a capability statement fundamentally, though, is a 6-second introduction to your company. In 6 seconds, I should be able to look at your capability statement and decide or have a general idea of what you do. You do construction. You do elevator services within the construction world. You do cybersecurity. You do software development on the Amazon stack. You do project management, or you're doing full life cycle employee onboarding. I should be able to see in 6 seconds using your capability statement what your company does. So I think the first thing a capability statement does is it answers the question, what do you do? Right? Not in any massive depth, but enough for me to sit there and decide what I want to do. It also gives a first impression to other people about your company. Partly it gives a first impression about whether you're squared away, whether your capability statement looks neat compared to a mess. Yes, there's that. But really what I'm talking about, a first impression of, oh, so you're an IT company. Oh, so you're a construction company, right? That kind of first impression. Because you want them to be able to position you or typecast you or pigeonhole you exactly the right way. My last company, I was a small business for 20 years in the federal market. My last company was a Microsoft SharePoint-based company. When I gave my capability statement to somebody, I wanted them to look at it and say, you're a SharePoint company. We sure are. We did a lot more stuff, right? But that didn't matter. when we're trying to do a 6-second introduction, I'm picking the most important thing that I want to be known for, and that's SharePoint. Later, I can sell them other services. And so that first impression is really a first impression around what do you do? We're like, okay, I got what you do. And then it highlights that in a little bit more detail. And I'll talk about this in the framework. But generally, when you think about SharePoint services that I did, I might sit there and say, our focus areas are administration, migration, and software or solution development, right? Something like that. And so it's highlighting what we do in one area, and then at the same time, it's saying we've been paid for it. This is really important. People want to know, what do you do, and have you been paid for it before? It doesn't mean they won't work with you if you haven't been paid, but the minute you start getting paid for it, you tell them that. Now you're borrowing the credibility of your customers, and I'll point that out in a couple of minutes when I go through the framework. And then the last thing I really want to point out here in red, if you're able to see that, is capability statements help you get accepted or rejected quickly. Sales, which you're in and I'm in, is all about yes or no, right? We'll take a maybe if it's going towards that yes or no, but really it's about a yes or no, right? If they look and I say, hey, we're a cybersecurity firm, and they're a person who does construction, they're like, no. But if I show them that we're a cybersecurity firm and they do anything related to software or network or cybersecurity in particular, then they go, tell me some more, right? And so I'm trying to get accepted or rejected quickly. Most importantly, I'm trying to get rejected quickly. I don't want to spend any time, and I don't want you to spend any time with people you're not a good fit for, right? It's nothing bad, but why waste their time and yours if really there's no long-term play for this, right? There's no long-term relationship or opportunities, et cetera. It's better for them to politely say, no, it's not a fit for me. And for you to go, sounds good. Really quickly, do you know anybody who would? No? Okay, I'm out of here. You might as well ask them if they've got a friend who would be interested. So that last thing I'm putting down here is just remember a capability statement. If you boil it down to what is its purpose, a capability statement's purpose is to get you a meeting. It is not to inform the other person all about your company. It's just to get a meeting by them accepting or rejecting you as fast as possible. So let's talk about what should be on a capability statement. So I have interviewed hundreds and hundreds of federal buyers, people in the small business side of it, contracting officers and the contract acquisition staff. So hundreds of people and hundreds of people who are even on the industry side talking. And so when I'm giving you my recommendations, it's actually not built on what I did in my last company. I wish I knew what I teach now then. But it wasn't until I started in 2018 teaching people that I began to really understand the process and refine it with the help of the government and go, well, what do you really want to see? And not one person or not one agency, but really finding a blend of advice of multiple agencies. You're talking about there's 100 plus agencies in the federal government, many, many offices. It doesn't take you long to start seeing a pattern across the board. And so I've got my recommendation. I'm not saying it's the best or the worst. I'm not saying it's the be all, but I'm saying when I work with a customer, this is what I do. And you'll see on the next slide, it's the same thing because my capability statements get meetings. I don't need it to win awards. I don't need it to look pretty. I need it to get me meetings, and anything on there that's not getting me a meeting is a waste. And so I keep that in mind. When you think about a capability statement, I'm going to show you in the next slide exactly what I'm going to tell you here. But the first thing is people read in a Z format. So if you think about how you read a book, you read left to right and come back down, right to the next sentence, and you come across. So people read in a Z format. You will see that my recommendation for capability statement takes that Z and stretches it out so that you can help a reader very quickly look in your capability statement in 6 seconds to be able to see, got it, I know what you do. It's this way of going from header to header to header kind of thing. So keep that in mind. When you have a capability statement, you need to guide the reader's eyes. The second thing I'm pointing out here is the sections that I recommend you have inside of a capability statement. And how I shape them is a little different, but what's in here is pretty standard for everybody who would advise you. You have a header section, which I'll talk about in a minute, but this is where you're talking about, you got a capability statement, words, you got a logo and some other stuff. But really, I'm trying to put some of my most important things at the top. An important thing about a capability statement, you want to push the least important things to the bottom. Let's say you're an 8A small business as an example. I take the SBA's 8A logo and I put it in the very top in the header. If you put it at the bottom, it's called burying the lead. You are not supposed to lead with, hey, we're an 8A firm, we're a woman-owned small business, right? They always tell us, don't shout out your tags. But it's totally okay to shout out your tags on a piece of paper, because then the other person will say, oh, I see you're an 8A. Oh, yeah, I forgot. I wasn't even going to mention it, right? It's this way of shouting out that you're an 8A or that you have a tag or CMMI, whatever it is. It's a way to shout it out without you actually saying out loud. And my point is, figure out what's most important and bring it to the highest level. You want them to see it as fast as possible because you're trying to get these mini yeses. And I'll show you what I mean in a second by mini yeses. So the 6 sections are, you got the header at the top, you got your core competencies and past performances. What do I do? And has anybody paid me for it? And then another section that's in there in the body of this is your differentiator. This is sometimes challenging for people. You know, how are we different from all the other IT companies? Or I did Microsoft SharePoint. There was like 5,000 other government contractors who did SharePoint. Not just said it, but they actually did it. We're just the best, right? And so how do I differentiate myself from them? I might put in something like, well, we're a Microsoft Gold partner, or we've worked on 3 100,000 user plus projects, right? Those are massive differentiators. You've got to figure out what your own differentiator is, but it guaranteed is not we're super duper effective or something, right? A differentiator is something you tend to grow into. Don't overthink it, right? In the beginning, it could be something as simple as we're an Adobe or Microsoft partner, and you throw it in. Even if you're not a gold partner, you're just bronze, just drop the word bronze and say we're a Microsoft partner. That's enough to move the interest forward, and then you can expand on what level you're at. And then the last 2 sections, 5 and 6, are an about section. It's really just a little teeny paragraph, teeny on purpose. And then the footer, and this is the reverse of the header. This is where you have the least important information. And an example is your NAICS codes and your point of contact that goes at the bottom. First off, no one really cares about NAICS codes. I don't, it doesn't matter to me that there's some people who go, oh, I need to see your NAICS codes. Literally, I've seen people say, have your NAICS code and the description. Really, you're just using up space. If you're a contracting officer and you don't know what the description is based on 541, 511, then I don't actually even want to talk to you because it's going to be a miserable call. And the point of contact, put that person at the bottom in the footer. That no one cares who you are until they begin to know what you know, right? They need to understand that they even want to talk with you. If they do, then at the bottom, when they made that decision in their 6-second journey, they will go, I wonder who I should call. Oh, look at that. Right there at the bottom is the point of contact, right when I'm starting to want to call somebody, compared to if it's at the top, right? It doesn't add value at the top. A couple of other tips I have on the right-hand side is make sure your capability statement is in 14-point font. This is a kind of a radical way of thinking that I have out there, but two reasons for this. If it's in 14-point font compared to 12-point, it forces you to have to be more clear and concise with your bullets and what you're saying, because you don't have as much room to just shove words farther in, right? That's the first thing. Second thing is you make it easy for the other person to read. Part of your capability statement is being able to read it, make it easy or frictionless, like we like to say sometimes, to read it. I'm like, hey, this was a pleasant capability statement to read. And I know what they do. They do Microsoft SharePoint. They do construction, specializing in framing or something, right? Second thing, and I'll show you this, use 2 or 3 bullets that are your core competency. So if I say SharePoint, I might say administration, migration, and development, something like that, because there's a sing-songy way of saying we did this, this, and this, right? A whole nother training. Add hyperlinks, and I'll talk to you about it, but wherever you can put a hyperlink and make it easy for people to do more research, do that on your capability statement. Something I didn't put here, and I'll just say this right away. Don't do your capability statement as an image, like a GIF or a JPEG or something like that. Don't do it as some weird thing. Do it in Word and print it out to a PDF, or do it something like that. Most importantly, because you want to make sure that all the words that are on your capability statement are fully indexed, meaning that if somebody searched for it, they could find it. I see capability statements sometimes that are unfortunately either images or images inside of a PDF, which is almost worse. And being in there, if somebody searched for you, they wouldn't find you. So make sure you're understanding the right way to do that. Any PTAC can help you with that, Apex Accelerator. And then metadata. This image I have here, this is like the most advanced tip and the easiest thing to do. I think it's like the easiest advanced tip. And what I mean by metadata is if you have a file, your capability statement is a file on a computer, right? If you have a file and you open it up in Word or you open it up in Adobe Acrobat and you're looking at it, if you go to the file menu on a Mac or PC, if you go to the file menu, you will see something in Adobe Acrobat in particular that's called document properties. And usually people just have a file name. That's it. And the worst thing is they have unrelated information in the metadata. For example, the title might say, Scooby-Doo's resume or something. And I just brought it over and I edited it and made it my capability statement. And now it's got bad data. What you want to do is to make sure you fill in the title and the subject with the same name as the file name. You can add information to the subject. I do that often. I can put a whole line in there. You want to put in an author. So in this particular case, you'll see Graham's CEO is Nina Martin. So it's like, put your name in there. If somebody searches for your name, they find your capability statement. And then keywords, throw in your top keywords that you want to be found for in there. When somebody takes your capability statement and puts it on a government hard drive, an enterprise level hard drive, it is now indexed by enterprise level search tools. Think Google, but for the government. And so if somebody is searching, they'll find another person's file and come up if it's in like public shared drives, etc. And so you want to make it visible. The other thing is because Nina has like deaf communication access or American Sign Language, if American Sign Language is inside the visual PDF, it'll come up in the results if somebody searches. But if it's here in the metadata, her file will come up on top. And I'm telling you right now, my made up estimates are like 95% of the people don't even use metadata. I bet you if I looked at 95% of the people on this call, your metadata is either wrong or not used, right? And so if you use it to your advantage, you increase your likelihood of being visible. So here's an example of the PDF I was talking about. Let me guide you through some of the tips I said. First thing I said was Z format. So the Z is the header coming across, and I'll describe those things in a minute. Then I'm reading downwards, right? So going down to the next sentence, but core competencies leads to past performances that come across to differentiators, right? So I just did that Z format, and in 1 second, I'm able to see this stuff. And you see on the footers burying the lead down there with the NAICS codes, et cetera. So let me, and then the about section is here as well. The about section is this small paragraph. It should be small because people don't really read these days. They browse and they're looking for catchwords, buzzwords that pop up. So the header, the most important information sits in this header. Not most important, but it is very important. So you got your company logo, and they don't need to put their company name here because the logo has it, and it's fine. But as they come across the very simple things of putting the word capability statement, many agencies still want you to do that. It just is clarity, right? There's two sides of the fence. Just be on the side that doesn't matter, right? Put capability statement. And UI cage code tells them you've been registered in SAM. Okay, they're good to go. They're a company who's ready to work with us. They'll literally ask you these questions, right? If it's not obvious. Here, we're saying that they're in a woman-owned small business and an 8A small business. So in less than a second, they're able to, a reader is able to see that you're registered in SAM and you've got some certifications that are interesting. Sounds cool. I come down to core competencies. I can see they do professional support services and deaf communication access. Well, I'm responsible for construction. No, thanks. I don't want to meet you. Or I sit there and say, you know what? We're an EEO office. Then we do want to talk to you because deaf communication access is a huge portion of what we're trying to do. Let's talk more, right? And then coming over to the past performance, I recommend that you break past performance up so that on top, if you've got experience, you're saying who I have worked for. And then below that, in the sample projects, I have just these sample projects. I'm just trying to catch your interest. I'm not trying to tell you a case study or a whole story. But if I have somebody reading this and they see Navy, NASA, DOJ, that's it. They're going to go, you're good enough to, if I liked your core competencies, you're good enough that it's worth my time to have a 15, 30-minute meeting with, right? Remember, I'm just trying to get a meeting. And so you can come back later and look at some of this other information on here, but I want to move on so I track on my time. If you build your capability statement in this way, where should it go to get you maximum visibility? By the way, I would ask you right now, thinking about these 9 places I'm going to tell you, truly, how many of your capability statements are in all 9, right? And you don't need to answer there. It's more of a rhetorical question. But here's the first place it needs to live, in DSBS. DSBS is the #1 market research tool for the government. Inside of there, through another tool called connect.sba.gov, you can upload a link. Make sure that link to your capability statement does not go to certify.sba.gov. It does not go anywhere but your website, because you want people to go back to your website to get your capability statement and go, oh, let me look at this page. Let me look at their white papers. Let me look at their blog, right? You want them to explore more about you. So send them to your website to get your capability statement, which is the second place it needs to be. And what I recommend, you could put it in your about section, drop down menu, but I like it being in the header, really obvious, click here to get it, or in the footer, but somehow make it very easy on your website on almost every page for people to be able to find that capability statement. So the 3rd through the 7th, and I guess it's, I counted an extra one for LinkedIn there, but that's fine. On LinkedIn, you have your own personal profile, right? You're here, most of you are here through LinkedIn. You have that profile, put it in the featured section or the experience section. Talk to your colleagues. They also have profiles. If you're the boss, talk to everybody in your company and say, hey, let's put the capability statement up there. Google indexes that stuff, and so you can get found. So make sure you have it on anybody's profiles. And then also, number 5, put it on your company page. So all of our personal profiles generally are tied to a company page. Go update that document or upload that document into your company profile. You can do it as a post on there and just feature it right at the top and keep it right at the top. And number 7, post it as a PDF. I've talked about this before. I talked about it in the newsletter, that if you post your capability statement out there and go read my newsletter article on this and you tag me, I will come engage. In my 34,000 followers, many of them will see it and come engage as well. Number 8, make sure you're registering in agency supplier portals and then upload your capability statement in there. HHS has got a fantastic supplier portal. And so you can upload a document in there, a PDF, that is your capability statement. They also have the ability to upload text. So you can fill out that profile in a way that really can maximize your visibility. And then number 9, last one here, is large businesses like Booz Allen, GDIT. They have supplier portals out there. Even on the construction side, they have supplier portals. And in those supplier portals, they allow you to upload documents often where they want you to upload your capability statement. For them, they're like, upload your white papers, upload your capability briefing deck. And so if you have a capability statement and it says what your company does and you're proud of what your company does and you want to reach people, then put that capability statement everywhere somebody might look for it. If I missed any, somebody throw it in the chat. Let me know if I missed any other ideas. But just start with these 9 and you're going to maximize your visibility that's out there. Okay, so let me give you a couple of things to remember as you head off into the day. First thing about capability statements, its purpose is to land a meeting. Keep that in mind. It's not supposed to be a document that informs. It's a document that lands you a meeting. You want them to accept or reject you as fast as possible. When you're thinking about the format, use a Z format like I showed you. You can make it look how you want, right? But follow that Z format and follow the rule about 14-point font. Make it harder on yourself to communicate clearly and concisely what your focused offer is to that government buyer or teammate, right? And then last thing is share your capability statement everywhere. I would love for you to be tagging me after you put it on LinkedIn, and make sure you read my newsletter first because I give you some guidance, but put it out there and tag me. I want to sit there and push it further. Many of the people who have tagged me, I watch all these other people come in and engage their company because they did, right? It's a really simple way for me to help you and for you to help yourself. If you haven't already signed up for tomorrow's training, make sure you do. Love to have you come back. Tomorrow, I'm talking about my 7-step process for government contracting success. And so if you're looking to have more success, tomorrow I will talk about the process. If you're looking for our help on the process that I teach all the time, we have a BD Accelerator workshop for companies doing 2 million plus, not below 1 million, right? 2 million plus. And if that's something you're interested in learning more about, we'd love to talk to you about October. So put workshop in the chat. For all of us, just remember, government contracting, capability statements, they're not secrets, they're just processes. I will see you in the next training.